Welcome to Luna and Morpho. On this channel, Lindsay and I channel an energy message that you may need to hear right now. If you're finding this message, it is meant for you. It is no coincidence that you are here. And so without further ado, let's dive into the messages. Well, first of all, Lindsay is an incredible tarot reader and we're both Reiki masters. So we're both really good at picking up on the energy, channeling certain things. So yeah, let's dive in. We're gonna shuffle some cards and see what wants to come through and give you some juice for where you're at right now and a message or some guidance that you might need to hear. Yeah. So
I love it.
let's shuffle. Let's do this.
For anyone watching this, I feel really called to just say now would be a beautiful time to take a couple of deep breaths. Really just releasing your day so far, releasing any tension in your body, just making sure that your jaw is relaxed, letting your shoulders fall away from your ears, softening your belly, just seeing where you're holding tension, maybe even in your fingers and toes, if you're clenching or holding on to something. See if you can just allow your body to melt a little bit more into the seat beneath you. And just notice how good it feels to breathe. It's amazing because we're breathing in every single moment, but how often we just forget that's something we're always doing is breathing in, out, in, out. And when you begin to make that conscious and you begin to really feel that process in your body, wow, like it makes such a huge difference. So maybe this is the first big breath you're taking of the day. Maybe this is the first time you've been mindful of your breath this week, and that's beautiful. So allow yourself to just take that moment to just really feel the air in your lungs, to arrive here in this moment and to be open to receiving these messages. I can feel they're going to be big today. You want to start us off, Tilly?
Yeah, it's just I got some
Ooh,
interesting cards, so I'm trying to like feel what the messages mean. So the first one I got is jeweled web with connectivity. Then
beautiful.
I got crown games, the right use of power. I got wailing tree, reconciliations. And then the final card I got is netcaster and preparations come to fruition. It's really interesting because this is like giving me kind of the vibes from the last reading, but I'm like wanting to put them all together. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. I feel like it's already tying into some of the cards that I have here as well, which is really
Okay.
beautiful.
What have you got?
So the first thing I was noticing, the first card that you held up, I believe was number 32.
Uh-huh.
That was the first thing that stood out to me. For whatever reason, I didn't really pay attention to the numbers on any of the other cards I'm realizing, but as soon as I saw 32, I thought, oh, that's a five. And it's really interesting because it's a five in numerology. And there are five cards that came out in my tarot deck today. Interestingly enough, and I was still shuffling as you were pulling these cards, so I didn't know there were going to be five yet. But five in numerology is a number that talks about change, it being a time of positive change. And human beings, when we experience change, we often experience along with that some fear, some doubt. We experience some uncertainty because when we're changing, we don't exactly know what that change is going to lead to, where we're going to land, right? So it's sort of like um your foundations are shifting and it's like, oh my gosh, where am I going to put my feet? Like I know that I'm going to land on solid ground eventually, but right now like I can feel that things are shifting and my weight's kind of going here and there, and so energetically it can feel a little strange. a little strange. And so what I was noticing about that card in particular is the connectivity word. And spirit was just said in my ear, can you see how one thing relates to everything else? And I think what spirit is meaning by that is when you look back to the past, let's just look back for just a moment. I want you to think about some of the major changes you've gone through. Maybe it's breakups. Maybe it's family dynamics changing. Maybe it's moving homes, um, becoming someone new, putting on new habits, trying new things, starting a new job, all of those kind of changes. In the moment when those changes were going on, I bet there was an experience of uncertainty. I can almost guarantee that there was the experience of things being a little bit uncomfortable. But there's something about being able to look back that we can see how that situation had a purpose, how it helped us grow, how it led us to other beautiful things. And that is a message that I'm already seeing in my cards here. And so I wonder if that's one of kind of the overall themes that is coming in. That's kind of where Spirit is asking us to start here, is with this idea of, yes, things are changing, but can you trust that it's connected to these better things coming, or it's connected to these manifestations or miracles that are getting ready to drop in? Everything is so connected, which also reminds me of this sentiment that I feel like comes up in readings a lot, at least it has recently, is that life is happening for you, not to you. And I feel like there's such an important message in that when it comes to change and feeling uncertain. We can often say, why is this happening to me? Why is it happening this way? I didn't ask for this. Why is this happening to me? And Spirit's kind of coming in and saying, actually, it's happening for you, again, to help you grow, to help you achieve that thing that you've been praying for, asking for, wishing or hoping for. And yes, even though you might not have been ready to take the action at this moment, for whatever reason, Spirit has come in and said, if you don't have the courage right now to make this happen for yourself, or maybe you don't have the strength, you don't have the resources, or it just wasn't really in your conscious mind to take these steps, Spirit said, I'm going to take this off your plate and I'm going to help rearrange the universe for you in order to get exactly what you're meant to receive right now. So even though we haven't gotten to that receiving place and it's not all clear, again, just like this card, it's almost like a spider's web, right? But it's jeweled. That spider's web is a little bit dark. It might be a little bit sticky, like you imagine landing in a spider web, but it is all interconnected and it's so, so beautiful. And especially in this web, there are jewels. So everything is connected in such a beautiful, beautiful way. So even though we might be feeling a little bit sticky, a little bit in the dark, even though everything might not be clear right now as to how the web interconnects and why, can you trust that you are protected and so held? Again, when we fall, if you imagine falling into a spider's web, it's almost like this soft, gentle kind of trampoline landing, right? We're so, so safe in this connectivity. And again, I just want to talk about the symbology of the spider as well. The spider is very feminine and she is the creator. She weaves this web, connects it all. And she's also kind of a protector in a way as well, like a protector of herself, a protector of her environment. And so with this landing in the web, you're not going to come get eaten by the spider. That's not really the analogy here. The analogy is that the spider, the creator, the divine, has woven this beautiful web just for you to land in, just for you to be connected to all of these jewels, just for you to have a safe place to just rest and be. There's nothing else that you need to do, right? That just feels really sacred and really beautiful. So, can you trust that things are being woven for you, even though you might not be able to see how they're being woven and how they're being created? It's all around you. You're in the middle of it. Um, yeah, that felt important. How is that feeling for you, Tilly? Or do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I love that. I've been seeing spiders a lot. They've been coming up in my dreams. I've been seeing spiders a lot. And so yeah, I just love this piece about like webs and like the jewels and like all the things. And it's also like for me it's like the steps to get to what you want as well. Like it's almost like there's this jewel and there's this jewel and there's this jewel and this jewel and this jewel. So maybe like what you were going for is this jewel, but it's kind of like this little like map of like getting there as well. That's like everything. Yeah, it's like basically the message you said of like whatever you're calling in is coming, but there's like these little jewels on the way of getting there that may not seem like they were what you were wanting, but they're like really integral parts of the journey, and it all comes together for something big. And then also I'm feeling like a collective energy as well of like there's something bigger happening on the collective that you may not be able to see until you completely zoom out, but that your part in it is so important for like lighting up the web as well. So yeah, it may just seem like, why is this happening to me? But there's something like much bigger in like the grand scheme of the web. Like it's reminding me of the Prince of Egypt. I don't know if anyone's seen this, but he's like in like there's like a line and he's like, a single thread in the tapestry, though its color brightly shines, can't see its purpose in the pattern of the grand design. And it's just saying like, yes, like your part is so important, and there's also like a huge design, and it wouldn't be the same design without your part, but it's like there's something much bigger happening. So yeah, that's really giving me that kind of like web web feel as well. And
Yeah.
also the spider, like spiders are so dope. Like they always just like they come and they kind of frighten you, and they're actually, the message I always hear with the spider is stop being afraid of your dreams. Like stop being fearful of your bigness and what you can weave into existence. Like just start weaving, and you don't need to be like scared. Just begin weaving, and it that's how it begins. Like that's how the web starts, is with like a little thing, and just start weaving. Just begin weaving your dreams, and don't be scared of it. Because how many of us see a spider and we're like, ah, like a little like ah, and we can have that same feeling of our dreams of just like, oh, I don't know, it's like it's a little too, it's uncomfortable, it's weird, I don't want to rock the boat. And the spider comes to be like, hey, now's the time, like start weaving. So yeah, I love the spider message. And I'm also noticing on here there's butterflies and dragonflies, and there's also dragonflies on this card as well. And so something with dragonflies is like coming through as well, but I'm open to what that wants to be.
That's beautiful. I just saw a dragonfly yesterday and I haven't seen one in months and months and months. And so I saw it and was like, a dragonfly. Wow, that's so cool. So interesting that it's coming through in this reading. And I love what you said about, to connect the dragonfly to the spider for a moment. I love what you said about the spider kind of coming in and initially it scares us, but then it's really like, what do we have to be afraid of? Especially as human beings with a spider, like spiders are so small. And especially if we're seeing it and like we have so much more power, we have so much more control over the spider than the spider does of us, like truly. And I feel the same way about change, that number five energy of expansion, growth, but also change and time kind of moving forward or a situation being moved forward here. Sometimes when that happens and change comes through, we're like, ah, change. No, I don't like this. I'm scared of this. When in reality, we have more control over that change than we know. We have more tools and resources. And again, the change is happening for us, not to us. And I love that there are dragonflies and butterflies coming in as well, because every time I think of dragonflies and butterflies, they're very high vibrational and they take flight, whereas the spider is a ground animal, right? Like it crawls and it has its web that it can kind of hang on, but in general, it can't fly, right? Spiders can't fly. So there's something about the butterfly and the dragonfly that are able to kind of have a bird's eye view of that spider's web. It's us being able to raise our perspective to see, okay, how could this be happening for me? How could these changes be happening for me? Okay, how could this thing that just happened to me be part of the web that's helping me achieve my dreams? Why could now be the time? And should I listen to that internal voice or that sign that I received from the outside that's telling me now is the time to weave, start weaving your dreams, start weaving your dreams, that internal clock of like, I think it's time, I think it's time. Can you see how it could be the perfect time and probably is the perfect time for you to listen to that internal voice? Um, There's something about dragonflies and butterflies as well, even though they have slightly different meanings, they're very high vibrational as well. They're usually signs of love and kind of quickness, adaptability, clear communication, also communication with the other side, with your spirit team, with your higher self, whatever you believe in. There's this magic to them in the way that they flit and flutter and go from here and go there. And so in that way, I feel like they also represent adaptability, being flexible, but also trusting the divine, trusting the magic and letting it be magical. And so I feel like that's an absolute sign from your guides today, whoever's watching this, that this change that you're going through, while it might feel scary and it might feel bigger than you're also very divinely guided and you're being asked to trust, asked to be adaptable as well, to be just open to change, even if it feels uncomfortable, and to see what you can do to have that higher perspective, to be able to say, okay, I'm not sure exactly what the web looks like, but if I close my eyes and I just imagine zooming out on my life and zooming out a little more, and then zooming out maybe a little bit more, what can I see more clearly with some distance from it, instead of being all wrapped up in the day-to-day stuff and the fine details in our emotions and in our thoughts? If we're able to be the observer and we're able to see, especially again, when we look back to the past and see the changes that we've navigated before and how they've been amazing and how they've brought beautiful things, can you bring that perspective into the now, zoom out a little bit and be like, okay, is this change really scary? Or is it asking, I mean, it can be both, not or, and or. Is the change really scary? And or can it be the thing that's helping me achieve that dream, become that person, find what I'm asking for, receive my manifestation, whatever it is? That perspective feels really important here. And I feel like that's kind of where we're being guided to. And I want to say as well, just really quickly, while I was shuffling the cards, there was one card that popped out before I was really sitting down and like accepting cards. But as soon as it popped out, especially because it was only one, I was like, oh, this is like the main card for the day. And the card is the King of Swords. And the King of Swords is
Mm.
all about having that objective view, zooming out and being able to see how everything interconnects. The Suit of Swords in the tarot is a card that's all about communication, and it's about our conscious thoughts, beliefs, even fears as well. It's really the suit of the mind. And the King of Swords is someone who is a master at being able to choose his thoughts and choose the words he speaks, chooses his reality, honestly, very wisely. And that's why he's kind of coming in through these clouds. There's this face in these clouds. And just like if you've ever meditated before, sometimes we kind of explain thoughts coming in as like little clouds or little bubbles that you can pop, or you can let the cloud just pass on through. You just let the thoughts pass without attaching to them. This is very similar when it comes to change and the thoughts that come in of, why is this happening to me? This feels really scary. It's not safe. Who am I going to be after this? What am I going to do? How am I going to figure this out? The King of Swords sees all of these thoughts coming in like clouds, but has almost a higher perspective than these thoughts. And it's like, okay, I understand why I'm feeling this way and why these thoughts are being triggered. And I'm so high up in my perspective. I have such a zoomed out perspective that I can see the whole tapestry. I might not understand everything about how it's woven. I might not understand exactly where I am in the tapestry, but I can see the vision. This, just to give an example of this, let's just say there's someone that wants to be famous, someone that really wants to be like a famous actor, let's say, or a movie star. And along their journey, they had a lot of relationship issues with their family, with their significant others, with their partners. And through every single miscommunication and every single challenge, they were able to see the other person's side. And so, from all of these difficult life experiences, this person is actually gaining the wisdom of experience and is gaining the wisdom of their emotional intelligence as well, understanding not only the amazing joys and highs of life, but kind of the depths as well. And as they're going through their life, let's say they, go on social media and they like accidentally post like, I don't know, some video. They're cooking dinner and the camera's on and they weren't paying attention. And then all of a sudden it like goes viral somehow. Who knows? This is just an example. And they're like, oh my gosh, so many people are seeing this. They're like critiquing what I was cooking for dinner. They're critiquing what I was wearing. Like, this is so scary. But that experience helps teach them how to be seen and how to take in maybe certain comments or certain people's opinions and how to leave other ones at the door. These things are so important to being a movie star or being an actor, right? To have the emotional intelligence, to be able to handle that big visibility, to be able to be humble as well and say, like, I'm just a human being like everybody else. This isn't just like who I am, but it's also what I do. This is my job. It's how I make money, all of these things. So when this person is in the middle of these relationship conflicts or in the middle of this, like, barrage of comments and going viral, even though in the moment it can feel so scary, so overwhelming, and it's, why is this happening to me, this is so hard, if this person can zoom out and being like, what if every single teeny tiny thing that happens in my life is helping me achieve that dream of being a famous movie star, and how could this situation be one of those jewels in that connected web that's leading me to that big jewel, or like the jewel that I'm looking for. They're like breadcrumbs along the way. I feel like that's something that spirit wants to kind of drop into our fields today as well, is sort of like, how are the things in your life right now those jewels on the way to what you've asked for, jewels on the way to that thing that you really want, and can you trust that everything is interconnected even if you can't see it? And sometimes having that zoomed out perspective can help us find it, and that feels important to mention.
I feel like it is because this is the next card, and there's like all these jewels on the crown, which is like like kind of what you're saying of like, yeah, to get this like crowning moment that you've been asking for, calling in, like this, it's like all these little jewels are like leading you to like this, like, ta-da, the crown. But also it's really giving me that King of Swords energy as well. Like this, like it does feel like there's a different perspective here. Like it feels like the head is like off and like not where it would normally be. And it's almost like you could move the head anywhere you wanted to and get like all sorts of perspectives on this. And yeah, and this one also has like the dragonflies. So it's giving me that thing of that moment of perspective. And then there's also this like pearl, which I love. And then also like these two moons up here, which also give me some like intuitive vibes as well. So yeah, I really feel that with like all the jewels, just different, just adding the jewels to your crown, basically. Like you're saying, like the famous person, like, okay, this is another jewel on my crown. This is another jewel on my crown of being able to have this level of power. So yeah, that's that all ties into this one, like you were saying, I feel like.
That's beautiful. I
You have
love
any
that.
you have any other messages that come to you? Like, I mean, the gold is really, really speaking to me too. Like gold just always feels like the gold, like what you've been looking for. Like it's the treasure. It's your like you've reached this like golden place. And since the person's like made out of gold, it feels like they've kind of reached a like mastery of sorts too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting that the card is called Crown Games, because it's not just like the coronation or like receiving your crown. It's crown games. And there's something about games that is inherently playful. It's a little bit mischievous. It's a little bit surprising, maybe as well. And so I think that ties into our message of collecting those jewels along the way and just adding them to your crown. And you know that like you already have your crown. It's already on your head, or like you already have it. So your success is inevitable. Like it's already yours. It's just on the way. You're adding the sparkles to it. You're adding the value to that crown as well. Like a crown is just a crown. It could just be, the like, especially the way it has like the material on the top. It kind of looks like a chef's hat. So people could look at you and be like, "Oh, you're a chef." And it's like, well, it's because I'm missing my jewels. Like I gotta add my jewels along the way. Um, and with that games word, it's just bringing me that energy of the crown is already yours. The jewels are on your path, but can you have fun along the way finding the jewels? Like it's not just this arduous journey of like trying to find these things. Like they're already on your path. You will reach them no matter what. You can't mess it up. They're on your path. So can you have fun in the meantime collecting these jewels and knowing that they're being added to your crown, even when the situations might not always be the moments of celebration? I think some of them will be. There'll be rewards, there'll be celebrations, there'll be fun. There'll be other times that are challenges and they're rewarding in a different kind of way. All of those are part of that, yeah, that like getting your crown and bedazzling it as well. Um, so that games gives me very five energy, very change energy, very like that uncertainty, but in a fun way. And I think that reminds me of the dragonflies as well, as there's this levity to it, this playfulness again of being adaptable, having fun, having that higher perspective, especially being in tune with our intuition. It's like if I knew what I was, if I knew that I was going to get exactly what I wanted, how would that change my right now? Like if I knew next month I was going to be that famous movie star, would I be stressed out right now if I knew for a fact it was happening next month? No, I'd be like celebrating already. I'd be like laying on a chair in the beach, like sipping a margarita. Why not? You know, it's like, all right, cool. I'm like done. No worries, no stress, having a good time, just like waiting for this next thing. And I think that's a good perspective to add in as well is can you have fun along the way? Can it be playful? Is it like, can you play that game with life of like, okay, life, I know you're going to give me what I want. So like, let's have a good time on the journey and not just be putting off our pleasure or celebration for the destination.
Yeah. Yeah, this hand position gives me like very relaxed vibes. They're just like like it's not like it's kind of like yeah. Yes.
Love
I
it.
love what do you have next for us from your cards? Or do you want to dive
Yeah.
into those or do you want to finish these ones first? What do you feel like is
Um, I kind of like that we're ping ponging back and forth just because I feel like our cards really tie into one another. So I'm just going to kind of trust that it's happening in the right way. It's interesting actually that you brought up the I didn't even look at the next card, but you brought up the moons on the crown because the next card I have is the High Priestess, Major Arcana card
mm,
number 2, and there's all these different phases of the moon. The High Priestess is a card that really can talk about a major life phase, a major life event, or the spiritual lesson that we're currently moving through right now. And this message just feels so clear that amidst all these changes, as you're gaining your jewels on the way to your crown, can you trust your intuition and can you tune into the part of you that knows that something bigger than you is happening? And I think maybe that's why, at least for some of you, that's why these shifts and changes feel so scary, is because they're bigger than you. So, what I mean by that is I feel like this is a specific message, but I know it's going to resonate with someone that from a young age you felt like you were meant for something. You might not even have known what that something was, but you just felt special in your own way. And of course, we all are meant for something. We're all special, but there's something for you that you were like, I really feel like I'm going to do something very cool in my life, and I don't know what it is. And you might have looked for that calling or that thing in different jobs, careers, people, like relationships, in different places. You could have traveled the world. And as you're kind of looking to find that thing, there's still that feeling inside of you that's like, I'm going to be something great. I'm going to do something amazing. Like there's just this feeling, this calling inside of me, even though I might not know what it is. When changes happen along our path, we can start to doubt that we're on the path, right? Especially if we're someone that's into tarot cards, or maybe you're into Reiki, or maybe you're into like the spiritual teachings, like the law of attraction, something like that. You hear a lot of spiritual teachers talk about being on your path. And like, are you on the path? Are you on the aligned path? Like, I feel like the word path just comes up a lot. And so when we're in times of change, we can feel incredibly doubtful of our path. Am I still doing what I thought I would be doing? Am I still who I want to be? Like I'm kind of in this in between place because things are changing. Foundations are shifting. That's what change does. It switches things up, right? But there is the part of you that can tap into that bigger than us feeling. You know that you're connected to something bigger than you. It's that calling, it's that feeling that you've had maybe your whole life, or maybe it's been more recently. Either way, spirit is asking you to tap into your intuition and remember, like, okay, I know that things are chaotic on the surface. Lots of things are changing. I'm feeling different. I'm questioning a lot of things. Who am I now? What do I want? Is the thing that I used to love really serving me anymore? There's just a lot of these questions. But when we tune into our intuition, there's still that part of us that knows I am on my path. Again, like I'm collecting my jewels along the way to my crown. This could be the next step into finding that thing where I'm like, oh, this is what I was meant for. This is what's been calling me to it. So even though the path might not be direct, again, you're kind of like, it's like a pinball machine. You're sort of like ping-ponging around all over the place. That intuition is the part of you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually that can feel when things are in alignment for you. And I do think there's a deeper feeling here that's letting you know that you're doing the right thing. Kind of reminds me of like if we've had a long-term partner and we go through a breakup, if you've been in that situation, you start to question, did I do the right thing? Being with that person, not being with that person. Who am I now that I'm not with this person? There's just a lot that comes up with that. And sometimes there's a deeper part of us that knows exactly where we're meant to be, either with them or not with them. And so trusting that deeper feeling, even though all the questions and the doubt is there on the surface, there's usually a deeper gut feeling on the inside, or this deep inner knowing of, even though this is hard, even though I'm questioning it, even though it's triggering for me, I know that I'm in the right place, or I know where my right place is. And can you trust that right now? Can you get grounded in that intuition? Can you get grounded in that knowing and just trust that that's what's going to anchor you through these changes? Your intuition also might be bringing you heightened dreams, heightened daydreams as well, or visions, feelings of what's coming next for you and what could be a new possibility for you that wasn't there in the past. So again, like with the being single analogy and being out of that relationship, maybe you've always wanted to travel, but you felt like you couldn't travel in the past because you and your partner lived together, or you were in the same town. Now there's these possibilities opening up about traveling, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with that relationship, but there's all these new possibilities and avenues and like adventures you can go on now that you don't feel energetically tied to this person or this place, this thing. That's kind of what it's reminding me of, is that some of you, I think really all of us in this reading, have experienced some deep changes recently that actually are helping open our horizons to new possibilities. And can we trust our intuition to know which possibility is next? And again, crown games. There's games. We get to have fun along the way. It's experimental. It's a little bit unknown. It's playful. So can we be playful, and can we tune into our intuition and ask, like, what would be really fun for me? What would light me up? What would just feel good for me to do next? What would feel good for me to explore? I don't have to be perfect at it. I don't have to know everything about it. It can be my first time, even maybe doing something totally new, but my intuition is calling me towards it. And I think it could be a good experience for me. So I'm going to give it a shot.
Mm.
That's what's coming up for me.
Yeah, just one other thing that I don't know why this came up for me, but like if you look at it, like there's a piece about it that what you are experiencing may seem unrelated to like your overall goal, but it is related to it. Like it's like this web that's like not this like linear thing that it's like do 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 do. It's like all these different little jewels everywhere. And so this jewel may seem very unrelated to the end goal, but they're it's all part of the same web, if that makes sense. And so it's just to think of it as like, okay, my life experience is a web and not this like linear thing in this direction, but it all ends up being this thing. So that I don't know why that came through so strongly, but that came through as you were talking about that. But I love everything you said. This brings me to this card, which this card is kind of, I don't, and I feel like you might have a message here, but I am like kind of like I don't know, because I mean, when I first initially look at it, I think, things are burning down, like there's things that are getting like torn down or disintegrating around you. And for me, that always feels like change as well. And to me, it always does feel like positive. I'm like, especially because I'm a holy fire, like we do holy fire Reiki, which is like when you're inviting the things to be burned away that are not serving you anymore, we're like, oh, good, that's making room for new things. So for me, it's always like kind of a happy thing when I see things burning down. But there's also this little mushroom right here that just makes me feel like, again, with that kind of games thing, is there's like magic afoot. Like I always think that when I see these little mushrooms, like reminds me of like dwarfs and like Alice in Wonderland, and like there's just like a little bit of magic afoot within this. So, but what do you have any messages for this, Lindsay? Because this is the one that's kind of like, what? I don't I don't quite get
Yeah,
that.
no, totally. I love everything you just said. And I have some similar messages. But the two immediately when I saw this card, what came through for me is I had to do the math for a second, but this card also reduces to a number 5 in numerology. So it's very much still about change and it brings that energy like from the card as soon as I look at it. So definitely things like burning down the mushroom, there's still being magic in that. But when I think of mushrooms too, a lot of mushrooms do grow out of decay. So like a tree dies and then the mushroom grows. So I feel like even though some things might be falling away, crumbling, shifting, changing, there's new life that's coming through it as well, which just reminds me of that, like going through a breakup, but then having a totally new experience and being able to like go travel or achieve a dream that you've been putting off for XYZ reason. The other thing, honestly, that's coming through, and it's interesting that this energy is coming through that way, but I just keep looking at the word wailing tree. And there's this kind of tough love, but very playful energy coming from spirit that's like, why are you wailing about these changes happening when I'm bringing you new life? Like it was not serving you anyway, honey. Like we don't need to, like I hear you and I hear you saying, "Why are you doing this to me?" Like ah, and spirit's just kind of coming in and being like, "Stop your wailing." And again with love because it's not just like, "Hey, don't cry or don't have feelings." It's not that. Like our feelings are so sacred and that's a part of our energetic release is moving through our feelings. Rather, spirit's coming in and is saying, if you could zoom out and see what I'm weaving for you, you would be in celebration. And so
Mm.
instead of wailing, being like crying, complaining, feeling scared, wailing becomes like this call of celebration. It reminds me like I'm seeing a group of women dancing around a fire pit, just like yelling and screaming, but with joy and with like, I can't believe this is happening to me. Like I am just like, ah, like it's an exciting wail, not like a like wail. Um, so this tree in my mind's eye is transforming from it's like the leaves are burning and we're yelling up, like, why are the leaves burning? All of a sudden we are kind of like looking down and it's sort of like this fire is like I don't know how to describe it in my mind's eye, but it's almost like fireworks or it's like fairy dust. It's like sparkly. And all of a sudden we're looking down and we're like dancing. Like the tree is like, woo, this is fun. Like, yeah, let it burn. Like, I'll give this up anytime because I know what's on the other side of this. And it's so funny actually, because the next two cards I have here actually have fire on them and are about things burning away. So the first card we have is the King of Wands, which is all about following what lights you up, following what lights you up. But it's so interesting that the card next to it is the devil card. And the devil card looks scary. And it really reminds me of what we were talking about with the spider, how at first we're like, ah, but actually, what really is there to be afraid of? The devil card is very similar, where it looks really scary, but it's not. The devil talks all about change and specifically letting go of things that are keeping you from changing. Because this change, again, the number 5 isn't just change for change's sake, it's divine change that's helping you be in a positive process. It's helping you move into higher alignment. It's helping you achieve your dreams. It's helping you heal deeply, truly. So why are we allowing ourselves to be chained to these thoughts, these old patterns, these old way of being that are really hurting us? They're not good for us anymore. They're not serving us anymore. And in fact, I'm getting a very strong message that it's actually lowering our vibration. Like we were talking about with the butterfly and the dragonfly as well, being able to like raise our perspective. I think some people have had a really hard time doing that because they're still in deep grief and they're very attached to this question of, and we've all been there, like, oh yeah, I have been there even recently being like, why is this happening to me? Why? Why? I don't understand it. I need to understand it. And sometimes we get so caught up on the needing to understand why that we can't have this higher perspective of the King of Swords. We can't have a higher perspective and zoom out and see the web because we're so in the midst of why. We're like asking all the questions. Why is this happening to me? And there's kind of this again, like the ground is burning beneath them. So foundations are burning, they're crumbling, they're shifting, they're changing. And it's sort of like, I'm trying to help you instead of getting burned because we're on the floor. Again, like the spider is like a ground animal. It's like the floor is burning. So we can't keep standing on the floor. Like I have to empower you to fly. I have to empower you to become the butterfly. I have to empower you, or you need to empower yourself. Like, we're co-creating this here. You and spirit are co-creating being able to grow wings and fly. And how can we fly, especially if we're scared to fly? We've never grown wings before, right? We've never experienced flight because we're a spider. Spiders can't fly. So if we can't ever fly because we don't believe that we can, I'm a spider. I don't have wings. I can't fly. Sometimes it takes the divine coming in with a loving hand and saying, I'm going to give you wings. I'm going to create the situation for you to empower yourself to grow the wings and to fly, because you can do it. I know you can do it. But right now, you don't believe that you can. You don't believe that it's possible for you. So, really, we're changing this burning floor, burning, wailing tree energy into celebration and being in control of what we burn away, right? This King of Wands is breathing fire. He's a fire breather, right? And it's because he's taking this fire within him, what lights him up, what changes he wants to create. And he's saying, the power behind this change is mine, and I'm going to speak it into existence. I'm going to speak forward what I want with my thoughts, with my actions, with my words, with my energy. That's what I'm going to give into the world, is the change that I want to be seeing. So, yes, maybe the breakup has been very difficult, but what do you want to take away from this? What do you want to learn next? Who do you want to become? So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm still hurt from this breakup, but who I want to become is someone that is more free, or I want to be someone that's more um even like practical. I want to make more money. I want to focus on my career. Maybe I want to travel the world. Like, whatever it is that you want to do, you get to have control again over that change. And that was a message that I remember saying at the beginning, is you actually have more control over the changes than you think you do, for whatever reason. And I do think it's, again, with this King of Swords being kind of the main card that Spirit wanted me to lead with today, I think it's all about our perspective and our and choosing what we believe, choosing our thoughts. Um, Feels really important here. And the last thing I want to say about this message on this King of Wands card, which I think is so beautiful, I just noticed this the other day. I'd never ever noticed it before. And I have this deck, I have two of these decks. I use them all the time. There is a little tiny lizard over here. A little tiny chameleon is what Spirit had told me it was. I don't know what kind of lizard it is, but for today, we're going to say it's a chameleon. It's so beautiful because Tilly and I have talked about the chameleon before, but the chameleon knows when it's time to protect itself and hide, to blend into its surroundings, and when it's time to stand out and to be its multidimensional self. When it's time to say, hey, I'm here and I'm purple. Like, I am rainbow. I am iridescent. Look at these amazing scales that I have. And so the chameleon has an incredible way of being the master of their own energy, again knowing when it needs to camouflage and when it needs to spread its wings. And when we look at the King of Wands in this card, he is, look at his chest being so open to life. It's like this heart opener. Even his arms are backwards, like if he had wings he'd be spreading them, right? So it's really beautiful that I think Spirit is sort of saying it's not time to hide, to be chained to our past. It's not time to back down or be small or stay silent. It's a time to say, you know what, this is happening for me, and I'm going to use this momentum of change to propel me forward, to create the change that I want to see into the world. I'm going to spread my wings. I'm going to show my multidimensional self. Like, there's something new here that, yes, it can feel vulnerable to spread my wings and try to fly for the first time, but I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to do it because life is giving me the perfect excuses, the perfect scenarios for me to do it. So why not give it a shot? What if I was divinely protected? The same way that the butterfly and the dragonfly, they can fly because of the wind. Like, air is there. So if they flap their wings, they will fly. Like, it's just science. Like, it's just how it goes. And so there's this message here as well, that it's like, can you trust that the wind will always be underneath your wings? Like, I know it feels vulnerable to try, but can you just trust that, like, as long as there's air around you, you're going to be able to fly. You're going to be able to even like float through this. Um, and that feels like a really, really powerful, very kind of strong message to stand out, to be different, to be yourself, to be bold, to express, to take charge. And that's very King of Wands energy as well, is following what lights you up, having that courage, having that tenacity to say, I know what I want. I'm going to get playful with it. I'm going to go get it. I'm going to have fun along the way. It's that celebration energy that I think takes that wailing tree from being like this decay, destruction to this like blooming, almost like a spark is turning into a wildfire. So the wildfire isn't just destroying everything and like a crumbling, it's actually igniting this giant flame of like, here I am. I'm turning into a wildfire. I'm here. This is me. Like from the inside out, my energy is not just, I'm not keeping it inside anymore, but I'm using it to um, create this light, this bright, beautiful, amazing, brilliant light. So yeah, so interesting how our cards are lining up. But that's what I saw from the wailing tree. It's just this, again, that seeing it in two different perspectives and choosing which perspective you look at it from.
Yeah, I love that. And it was so funny when you were saying that because it's like this face on there that's just like, wow, woe is me. But it's like all it's like you were saying, like it's just the universe giving you everything you wanted. That brings me to my last card for the day, which I really love because it's the Netcaster. And to me, it reminds me of taking that web and like look. So this one had like one pearl, and look how many pearls this chick has. Like she has gathered all the pearls. And the cool thing I think about this net thing not being linear, or the web not being linear, is because she's getting many of her manifestations. It feels like it's like this even says preparation comes to fruition. It's like even more than you expected to get, you can get because it's like this one jewel that you're getting right now, like the it reminds me of like Mario Kart or something when he like gets a jewel, you know, like this jewel that you're getting right now through this challenge or this change or this transformation you're going through is actually connected to many jewels. And so it's like you are this thing that you're getting is actually like bringing in a lot as opposed to like even more than the one thing that you think you are calling in. It's um like to use that reference that you were saying about like if someone was trying to get famous and like someone saw a video of them like eating dinner or something, like maybe also it happened to be like a man that sees her and is like, oh, like you're actually like really cool and you're like really down to earth, or you like see something attractive in that video. So yes, she gets famous, and then she also finds love in the process from like this one jewel that she received from that video, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I was like feeling from this. I just love that it's like, since we're working with this jeweled like web thing, you can receive many manifestations are like coming to light from this one thing that is you're like going through right now, this like big challenge or this big change that's happening is actually like a key piece of like a full net that's like gonna bring in many things. That's what I was receiving it. What do you get from it, Lindsay?
I love that, Tilly. I totally agree, and that was so beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. The other thing that I keep hearing is cast your net wide. Cast your net wide. And it's reminding me of the message we were talking about earlier with perspective, is we can have this really narrow perspective of, and I think this happens when we're afraid. It's sort of like that, why is this happening to me? It's like we get so focused in on that question that we're actually missing this wider lens of like, yes, this one thing is happening to me, but if I stop just asking why, and it's kind of like, okay, it's not a question. This is happening to me. What can I see in this? Where are my jewels? Like, yes, this is happening. Where are my jewels at? Show me my jewels. And there's so many to be found. So when we open up our perspective and cast our net wide, we can receive a lot more jewels that way, actually, instead of just like focusing on one jewel. And it's like, I wanted this one jewel and I'm not getting it. And I don't understand how this connects to that. We get so wrapped up in that kind of thinking that we're missing all of the treasure that we could be receiving. And it's so interesting. Again, so perfect. The other word that's standing out on that card is fruition. And when I think of fruition, like there's literally the word fruit in fruition. And it's finally receiving the fruits of your labor. It's giving me very Seven of Pentacles energy, which is this energy of what you want is growing and it's almost time for harvest. It's like you're looking at the apples on the tree and they're almost ripe for picking, but not quite yet. But you know, a couple days from now, you're going to be biting into that juicy apple and just having the most delicious experience. That's what fruition is reminding me of the time is coming and it's coming soon. And your preparations are going to be, it's like all the work that you've put in is going to be so worth it. And so with that wailing tree, like you were saying, Tilly, with these big changes that you're going through, can you trust that they are not only going to be worth it, that you're not only going to receive maybe that one jewel that you were looking to receive, but so many more in the process. And it's so amazing because fruition is one of those words that stands out for me with the world card. And that is the last card that I have today as well. So it perfectly ties in. The world card is things coming to fruition, coming to completion. It's like we are tying any loose ends. And it is a card of celebration, graduation. Again, with the Mario Kart analogy, you're the winner. You crossed the finish line. And even with this ribbon here, it's reminding me of like I got to this finish line. I received my crown, right? I received my like sash that says Miss America, or like I won Mario Kart, or like I made it through this change. I have wings now. I'm like the butterfly. And there's this incredible energy here of completion. And so there is something, these changes, if they feel big, this calling that feels bigger than you, that you are just being summoned into this change right now, it is big. And I venture even to say that a lot of you are going through karmic changes. Maybe what you're healing, you're not just healing for you, but you're actually healing generational trauma. Maybe it's stories around money, stories around relationships, stories around your relationship with yourself and your worthiness that your ancestors have just carried for generations and generations, but somehow it's ending with you. Maybe within your own life story, there's been a pattern or a thought that has really stuck with you through all of these different, again, relationships, jobs, just your whole life. But there's something about this that it changes. Like from here on out, you're different. From here on out, you're not the same. And so it's okay that there's grief in that process, being able to have the death of who you've been, the death of who you once were, and also the rebirth of who you're becoming. And just please know that who you're becoming somehow feels lighter. It's like whatever was burned away was keeping you heavy, was keeping you down. Again, it's reminding me of this devil card. It was keeping us chained to something that felt not good, right? Like when you imagine the devil or evil or just anything that feels, it just, to me, it feels very heavy. It feels scary. It feels sad. That's what we've let go of. We've broken those chains. We've moved on. We've moved past that. So there is this celebration energy coming through of, can you celebrate what you've let go of? And maybe it wasn't what you asked to let go of. Maybe it wasn't at the timing that you would have preferred. But either way, this feels karmic, like it had to happen. It's a time of destiny. It's almost like a time of fate in a way. And I don't use those words lightly. Destiny and fate are two words that I try to stay away from because they're so amorphic and they're hard to explain. But I guess what I should use is the word divine. There's something that's being co-created here with you. And this is a miracle in its own way. And I'm so excited for you to feel the power and energy of this new beginning and who you get to be on the other side of this. So, if when you're watching this, you could be at the beginning of this phase, you could feel it coming, you could be in the middle of it, and you're like, that wailing tree, that's me. Like, I am wailing, and this is hard. Or maybe you're at the end and you're celebrating and you're able to look back a little bit and be like, you know what, I have been through some changes. And maybe this is my own little miracle, big miracle, even. Like, maybe this is giving me permission to exist in a way that I really couldn't before. And now I get to explore that. It's almost like you've been hiking the same mountain or you've been climbing uphill like your whole life on the same mountain. And you finally get up to the peak of the mountain and you can see this whole vista, this whole view that you just couldn't see before. You're having this raised view, and then you're looking down the other side of the mountain, and you're like, oh my gosh, down the mountain looks totally different than the way it was on the way up. So my journey isn't over, but I can see now, like, wow, I got here, and now I get to explore the rest of the journey, and it's somehow easier. We're going downhill after this. Like, there's just something more beautiful on the other side in some way, shape, or form, and it sort of had to happen in this way for whatever reason, or it was meant to happen in this way. Maybe your higher self chose that it would unfold in this way. And can you trust that? Can you trust the timing? Can you use your intuition, the part inside of you that knows somehow, like, yeah, this has been a wild ride, and somehow I know that it was meant to be. I know this is happening for me and not to me. I can feel that. I know that somehow. Even if I can't explain it, I can't put words to it, I just know it. allow this feeling to, again, be your anchor, to ground you during this time, and to allow you to have that reflection. It's so powerful. It's so, so powerful.
I love this reading.
Me too. It's big energy.
It is. It is. I love the web. That's a really, I'm really happy that like came in because I'm like, oh, like this web moment of like, yeah. And I love that cast your web wide. Like for some reason, when you were talking about that, I was thinking of like there's this journaling practice that I was given where you write down 5,000 things that you want to call in because you're giving the universe so much material to work with. And so, yeah, when you're saying like cast your web wide, it's like, I want to be famous and I want to have my dream car and I want to have this and I want to have this and I want to have this. And it actually gives the universe so many like things that it can like bring to you as opposed to like always focusing on this thing. And it also takes you out of the energy of want of this one specific thing. And that also creates, because when you're in the energy of want, it creates this feeling of not having it with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So you attract more of that feeling of want. Whereas if you really cast your net wide and you're just like, oh, I want this, and then you move on to the next thing as if it's like, I have a next thing that I want, I have a next thing that I want. And it really just casts your net wide with the universe. So I just want to offer that journaling practice to you guys of 5,000 things that you would love to experience in your life and give the universe a lot to like of ways to like make that happen. So yeah, that was just coming through at the end. But yeah, this is a powerful. I always feel
Yeah.
like they're so spot on because it does feel like this energy in the collective of like, things are shifting, and like I said, on the bigger picture, like things are shifting, things are burning, things just seem like they're crazy and wild right now, but it's like all of it's to an end and like a really cool end. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So powerful. And I remember you, that's actually, I remember you sharing that journaling prompt with me in the past, and it really changed my perspective on being open to receive. And instead of, again, like you said, casting your net wide, it's like when you're asking for one thing, it's so narrow and your mindset is so narrow and you have like this tunnel vision. But when you're able to cast your net a little bit wider and have this wider perspective, you actually do get more jewels in the process, which is really beautiful. But I also
Mhm.
felt called just to wrap up our reading today with one or two cards from this other deck, this Oracle deck. And it's so interesting because the card that came out is actually the same exact card that came out in my live collective tarot readings that I do on Instagram every week. This was it. And I mean, there are like 77 cards in this deck. I've shuffled it probably at least 25 times since then. So it's definitely a collective energy here, but it says, set it down and walk away. Only return if it rings true. And
Mm.
there's something about this with, again, the devil card. It's like, stop trying to hold on to it, let it go. And if it was meant to be yours, it will come back to you. And if not, then it wasn't in alignment anyway. There's just this kind of like loosening our grip. And I love that there's this comet sort of like going through the sky, almost like a shooting star. It feels like there's a message coming through about kind of like it being once in a lifetime opportunity. It's like, take this chance. Like, I'm giving you this chance to let go, or I'm giving you this chance to have this other perspective. Like, don't miss it. Don't miss your chance. And I believe that we have infinite chances. It's not like you can really miss it, but there's something extra special about this message. And I didn't talk about this in the other reading. It just didn't stand out to me. But yeah, there's something about this that's like something very special, something very rare. There's like a rare opportunity here, a rare moment. I'm almost feeling like where the stars align, and it's like now is kind of the time for that. And then the other card that popped out is simply no. And the funny thing about this is I'm paying attention to this crystal on this card, and it's Smoky Quartz. And Smoky Quartz, to me, Smoky Quartz can do a lot of things. But to me, Smoky Quartz is one of those protection stones. It almost kind of soaks up the negative energy around you in a way. But for me, it's less about soaking up the environmental energy, and it kind of is taking in your negative energy for you to see it and almost cleanse it and release it in a way. That's how I relate to Smoky Quartz. So with this no, there's something here gently that if someone's still watching this reading and is like, but I don't want to let go, or like, oh, I don't, like I'm hearing the message, but I'm having a hard time grappling with it, that energy is kind of coming through. And spirit is gently coming in and saying it's for your own protection. It's for your own protection. Again, like just for a moment, I have to go back to this devil card. Like whatever you're being chained to, like feels heavy, it feels scary, it feels unhealthy. It could be an addiction, it could be an obsession, it could be just something that is really taking up a lot of your energy. It's like if you're chained to something and you're trying to break the chain over and over and over, you will get so tired because you can't break it and you can't get away from it. And it's just draining you and draining you and draining you and draining you. And spirit's coming in here and saying the opposite of that again with the King of Wands is having all of this energy and being able to like wield it and put it wherever you want to in your life to create new energy, to create new things. So there's a message here about, again, coming through of setting it down and trust that if it's meant to come back to you, it will. And for some of you, I think whatever you're setting down, it's not forever. It's just transmuting the relationship of you to this thing or you and this person into something new. Let it be new. It feels healthier. It feels brighter. It just feels, oh, it feels like I just want to take a big exhale. It feels very relieving, this change. And so it's a very positive change coming through. But also know that it's for your own protection as well. There's something protective about this. Also something kind of psychic about this as well. Like my third eye just started like burning when I when I looked at it this time in a good way. So really take care of yourself at this time and see if you can have kind of a heart to heart with yourself. Be a little bit honest and clear in your communication with yourself of, are the things that I'm trying to grip onto right now, are they really serving me? And how can I just begin to loosen my grip, trusting that maybe it won't go away, maybe it won't fall apart. Maybe it's just changing my perspective about what it means to me and my relationship to it. That felt like an important message that I wanted to bring through before we wrapped up today. Is there anything else that came through for you with that, Tilly?
No, I
Beautiful.
loved it. I love that just simple no. Like just no. Like just
Yeah.
stop. Put it down. Quit your wailing. Stop. Put it down. Like I just love that. Just short and sweet. Just like no.
Yeah,
So yeah, I love it. I feel like this is a really powerful message today. I feel like we had a lot of good codes come in.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so
Okay.
much, everyone, for joining us. If you liked this video, please don't forget to click the like button. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, please click the subscribe button. We will really, really appreciate it. And if you have any reflections from this reading, we'd love to hear what you're taking away from it. If you have any questions, really just to support one another as a community in the comments, especially at the time we're recording this, there's some big energy with eclipse season and all of these different things. And so, regardless of when you're watching this reading, there's a lot of big energy in here. So, please know you're not alone. Let's connect. I think we all go through phases like this and we all go through energies like this, but we never have to go through it alone. So, we can use our vulnerability and our positive changes that are happening to us as a point of connection. And I think that's really powerful. So leave a comment if you feel called to. Thanks again for being here and sharing your energy with us. We love you, and we will see you in the next one.